This beauty right here is a 1981 Gibson Les Paul Custom Silverburst, and it's worth some dough. There's a lot to share about this guitar, from the details to the value to where it is used in my bands. Let's get into it after the intro. Before we get started, I have links down in the description to my music, all my different bands, my former band and my current band, and I'd like you to check out the record that this was used on because I'm going to be talking about it a lot. I'll put that link in the description down below, as well as some links so you can get some gear. Gear that I used to make this video, gear that I've used to make records, live shows, studio stuff. A ton of it comes from Sweetwater, and there's affiliate links down below that can help you get the gear that you need from a place that has incredible customer service, and it helps the channel too. Check it out in the description links. So let's get started on this freaking beauty. Silverburst 1981. I have a special place in my heart for this because it was born the year I was born. Now, these Gibsons were prototyped in 77. They started making them in 78. I think they only made these really until about 84, 85. But boy, did they have some value, especially if you have one in this kind of condition. This is from the Gibson Norland era, and this sucker is clean and pretty much all original. I'll let you in on a little secret. It's not mine. It's not mine. I wish. If you find one of these on Reverb or wherever in good condition for a good price, get this. This is a collector's item. This is an investment. This belongs to my good friend Justin Mank. Thank you, Justin, for letting me check this out and show everybody. It's been in his collection since he was a kid, and it has been treated like a baby. Before I get into some of the details and where we use this in Story of the Year, I want to let you know that I think everything on here is original, maybe except for the tuners, because I think the early 80s original tuners had these little flip things that you could wind, like string winder style. And this doesn't have that. Other than that, I think these are the original Tim Shaw pickups, the original electronics, the original knobs. I think these are replacement buttons, but I want to point out, like, the binding and all of this, like, this is all OG and freaking gorgeous. Now, one thing you notice is it's still pretty Silverburst. And what I mean is, like, the color, the actual silver here. If you find a lot of these in good shape, the aging of the silver has kind of turned them like a kind of a weirder gray and almost like a green color. It kind of goes like this weird yellow green. So this thing being as silver as it is crazy rare and freaking awesome, and a testament to Justin and his family and how they've taken care of this thing. It even has the volute that shows kind of the age of it, and not all guitars have this little volute thing. A lot of guitar players hate this. It's this little bump. This is the volute. It's in between the fretboard and the headstock, and it gives it more support, but some people think that it kind of gets in the way of the thumb. I actually kind of like the way that it looks, and I kind of like the way that it feels, because typically I'm playing and singing, so when I'm playing different style guitars, I kind of like a marker as to know where my hand exactly is at all times, without having to look. So I like the volute. I don't mind it. Some people hate it. From what I understand, Justin has kept this as like a case queen. Now, Justin was in an original hardcore band called Not Waving But Drowning here from St. Louis. They were awesome, huge in the scene early 2000s, maybe even late 90s. And now he's making ambient music under the name Two Hands, One Engine. Check that out on Spotify. A link is below. But here's where the story of this comes in as far as where we used it or where I used it. So 2004 wrapped up. We headlined the Nintendo Fusion Tour. This is when I was in Story of the Year. That was a 2-year record cycle, actually more than a 2-year record cycle as far as Page Avenue goes. That was our debut record on Maverick Records. And we finished it with this big capper, Nintendo Fusion, at the end of 2004. Took a little break through the holidays, and then it was time to start doing the next record. Maverick and Warner Brothers were going back and forth in kind of this weird fight. So we weren't sure if we were going to be on Maverick or we were going to be on Warner Brothers or we were going to be free. We didn't know. So we did our first record out in California. We spent months with John Feldman, then went on the road for 2 or 3 years, and we wanted to do the next record at home. So a home studio was built in the basement of our other guitar player, and some of the guys wanted a much rawer sound on our second record. So we went with a classic hardcore producer, Steve Evans. Steve Evans rules, great guy, killer producer from that scene. So Steve flew in. We've now constructed a main rehearsal space, a vocal booth, and a little control room in the basement of a house in St. Louis. We had mostly PRSs because we were a PRS band. We were endorsing them. And honestly, we didn't really have too many options as far as guitar diversity. But Justin did. I had known Justin since the 90s, playing in my old bands and his old bands and Not Waving. And he was a local promoter that actually kind of like played a part in me being in the St. Louis music scene. So I called Justin and asked him, hey man, come meet the rest of the guys, bring over some guitars. Maybe we can use some of this sweet stuff that you have in your collection. And when he pulled this out, we're like, oh my gosh, let's try that. And I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever played a Les Paul that I like better than this. I have never played a Les Paul that plays itself like this guitar does. It's so big sounding, it's so chunky. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the wood. I don't know if it's how it's made. I don't know if it was just the era. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I'm sure there's an answer out there, but there's a reason that these things are so valuable. It rips. It works with almost every amp combo. And if you listen to the In the Wake of Determination record, our second record, this thing is all over the place, especially on the rhythms. In fact, it kind of sounded so good and so big that I'll admit I made the mistake of doing too many chords. A lot of the riffs were chorded out. They were bar chorded out because this thing just sounded so heavy. Problem is when you double it, when you triple it, it gets a little muddy and not as wide and big and dynamic as it could have been. I made a couple mistakes. I should have single stringed. I should have single noted some of those riffs on this thing, but I got kind of intoxicated by its sound, by its chordal sound, while I was tracking one track at a time. My mistake. You live, you learn. Still sounds huge and is a cool record. If I had known a bit more about this guitar before and attacked it a little bit more consciously, I could have gotten even more out of it. Just playing it tonight, its action is so low that it feels like it shouldn't sound like this. I'm still gonna play it just so you can kind of demo it and hear kind of what it sounds like in just a basic setting in the quad cortex. But this thing is awesome. But you can even hear kind of some of the buzz here. Oh, and one more thing about this. It's the most perfect studio guitar. Not just because it sounds amazing, but because it's too gosh dang heavy to play live. This thing is like 11 pounds or just over 11 pounds by itself, and it catches up to you quick. So it's something I never could have used live in that band just because I was running around spin kicking and backflipping. And I don't think anybody's built to be doing that kind of stuff with an 11-pound guitar. But she shreds. If you find one of these things in good condition, try to get it. It's awesome. Oh boy, look how clean that is. Look at this. Look at this thing. Just look at it. Obey my guitar. Pretty sick, right? Before this Les Paul came into my hands around 2005 to try out that record, I had never found a Les Paul that didn't feel like I had a lot of adjustments to make. My first couple guitars were like PVs and Ibanez and different things that I got out of pawn shops. Then I moved to a Strat, and then I sold my truck for a PRS. So all the Les Pauls that I was getting my hands on at guitar centers and music stores, they all felt like I had a lot to adjust to, like I needed to adjust to the guitar. This is the first one that I never needed to adjust to. It just played itself. I know that sounds silly and it sounds dumb and it sounds like I'm overhyping this guitar, but I swear to goodness, this guitar makes you better, it makes you want to play more, and it makes you want to start a heavier band. And if you get your hands on one of these, good luck not playing Tool riffs, because I'm pretty sure this is like Adam Jones's guitar. I think he has a 79 or an 80, but this is the one. That's why it might look familiar to you. This is Adam Jones' guitar, basically. So rip it up, play some Tool, if you can get your hands on one of these beautiful things. Thanks for watching it. Make sure you hit subscribe. I got some guests coming on that you are not going to want to miss. Thanks for joining me. I'm Moon. I play in Greek Fire and Goldfinger, formerly Story of the Year. I will see you next time. Thanks for being here, and God bless.